We haven't started yet. We need the third channel. Okay, now we turned on. All right, we've got it together now. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Welcome to this week's Dharma Talk here at beautiful Bali Rica, in beautiful Costa Rica, and on the internet. Today is a special morning with a newcomer to the group is going to begin with several minutes of the singing bowls, followed by our silent meditation, which will be led by Miss Lisa. She leads silence very well.
I'm an expert.
She's an expert in silence.
And this is Pierce
And yes,
doing the bowls.
this is Pierce, and this is in special honor of our birthday girl, Pam. And all the other birthday
Lola was yesterday.
That's all right. This is it. Happy birthday. Okay, Pierce, take it away.
All right. Good morning, everyone. This is C and F, so root and heart. I'll be playing. Thank
You
you.
have to speak up, sweetie, because it's a.
C and F, root and heart, two bowls.
continue in our peacefulness, in our awareness with our breath, with the world around us, the feeling of our seats, the sounds of nature, sensation of the breeze. Letting your breath lull you into peace like the ocean's waves. Letting those waves carry any thoughts away. To support yourself in positive expression today, just have like a Mona Lisa smile, almost a purely energetic smile, and feel how that shifts your internal world. Take a few deep breaths, drinking in that uplifted energy, letting it fill your entire body. And when you're ready, just slowly open your eyes to take in the outer world. Namaste.
Thank you, Pierce and Lisa. That was a lovely
Thank you.
beginning today.
So over the last couple of weeks, when Ruthie spoke and I did 2 weeks ago, the topics seem to almost always lead to the next topic. But actually in the topics the last 2 weeks, this idea was embedded in it. I'm returning to a favorite topic that I didn't understand a year ago, and I'm coming to understand better. I did 2 talks a year ago on this topic, detached involvement, and I felt like the first one was like an introduction for me just to present something. And I listened to it afterwards and thought, well, interesting. That was a good start, but it wasn't the whole story. And so I kept studying about detached involvement, which was a mystery to me, still is somewhat mysterious. And gave a second talk. I listened to that; it was better. And he then gave a third talk, and I felt like, I think I finally understand it. You know, you should understand this stuff before you present it to other people. But
We learn all
yeah,
the
yeah.
time.
yeah. Anyway, I want to come back to it because it seems to be right in line with what we're talking about. I have a bunch of notes here, but I want to just kind of, in a stream of consciousness, talk about what I think this is. Detached involvement has a lot to do with mindfulness, which has a lot to do with living in the moment only and fully. And so to be involved is a good thing. To be focused and in the moment is, I think, where you start to really live your life rather than the messages of your life or the stories or the past or the future or whatever you're dealing with. Our mind is a very tricky thing because it can take us on all kinds of main roads and detours. and so this is about being mindfully involved in every moment in a detached way. When I first started coming here with Ruthie, because of psychology as my background, they talk a lot about attachment in psychology and the importance of it, and especially developmentally, how the things we need to attach to developmentally progress from infancy to toddler to child to teenager to young adult to old person. And so I was a little suspicious of the idea of detachment when I came here.
That's the first thing the Buddha says.
I know, but I'm just being honest, I was suspicious.
Yes, well, you should be. It's all right.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not any more suspicious of this topic because I think in some level, detachment is the answer to the alleviating of suffering. Mm-hmm. We only suffer when we attach. Mm-hmm. And so detachment and involvement really sound really good together, but it's a mysterious combo. But well done. So I'm gonna go to some of my notes. I have 13 things about what it is or what it isn't. Some of you were here, and there's a lot of people who were not here before. I would say, as I look around, maybe half and half about that were here before. So this might be a new topic for some of you. The best definition I'm going to start with. Detachment in Buddhism centers on our relationship with our thoughts and emotions. We are not asked to give up our thoughts or emotions, but instead not be ruled by them exclusively. Finding the observer in our own mind and realizing the transient nature of our habitual stories and their accompanying feelings. It's a really good sentence. I want to say that again. To find the observer in your mind allows you to be mindful in the present moment, to observe what is going on, and to realize that the temporary nature of our habitual storytelling about ourselves, about our life, about our histories, and their accompanying feelings. Detachment is how to leave those aside. These feelings will arise and subside. One of the things the Buddhists add to psychology is for every feeling you have, in a little while, it will go away. Oh, it might come up again, and you might take another ride up the hill and down the hill. But the confident thing is that it will not last. Do you notice that about your feelings? Let's say that you're angry for a moment, and if you realize that that anger is going to go away, you might be able to mindfully live with it because you know that it is not permanent. Nothing is permanent. These feelings that arise and subside, come and go, are the attachments to the drama of our thoughts and feelings that lead to suffering. Detachment is a way to connect in the moment. Detachment is a way to connect in the moment. Now, there's a paradoxical sentence.
Well, I've been restraining myself because it's always important to remember that we are all interconnected, but you're detached. That standing back is really what makes it possible to get a really healthy connection. The inner being.
Yep. I'm going to tell a story that we told before about two monks. This is told in Buddhist circles. There are two monks, a young monk and an older monk, who are walking through the woods, and they come to a river, and the river is flowing pretty well, and there's a beautiful woman standing at the edge of the river, looking like she might need help. So the young monk tries to ignore her, and because he's following his vows about not being attached
To women,
especially. And the older monk talks to the lady and says, "Did you need help?" And he breaks his silence, of which they were walking in, and the lady says, "Great," and so he helps her across the river, and the young monk, in a kind of disgruntled way, just follows along. So they say goodbye to the lady. They continue up the road, and the young monk is stewing. So finally, it spilled over, and he said, "You broke your vow." And the older monk, in his wisdom, said to the young monk, "I left the woman at the river. You're still carrying her."
Gosh, I love Buddhism.
And so that has a lot to do with how our mind works, as long as we play the energy of the stories. And this is talking about how we mindfully live fully in the present moment. It's
How
really,
you can be both detached and totally connected to everything.
It's a mystery, but possible.
Well, you can't help being connected. That's one of nature's laws. We're all connected. But that's different from detachment.
So I'm going to go through the list of the other ones because the definition one was the best one. What is detached involvement? It is involvement with no control.
Hands off.
Suffering comes with control. The need for control. Detached involvement is about reducing expectations. And if you really want to be enlightened, eliminating them. Detached involvement is honesty when needed and not telling someone else's truth. Honesty about your truth, and yet a pulling back from telling someone else's truth. Being responsive and responsible to others and ourselves, but not responsible for them. Being responsible to others and ourselves, but not responsible for them. Connection without clinging,
Big cup.
without craving, without grasping. It's a really interesting hamster wheel of suffering. Starts with craving, might start with grasping, might start with clinging, but it goes around the wheel and includes all those. And the Buddhists called this the circle of the hungry ghost. We should do a week. We haven't done the hungry ghost for a long time.
Yeah,
That would be a really nice topic now that I think about it. And so that wheel of suffering is that we get stuck in those three things, which are part of the second noble truth: clinging, grasping, craving. And in that we continue to become empty and lose, and then we start the cycle over again. As we cling, we grasp, we crave. Has a lot to do with impermanence that we talked about a couple weeks ago and was embedded in your talk.
Mhm.
Detached involvement is to acquire anything, you have to relinquish your attachment. This is talking about being healthy about it. In acquiring anything, you have to relinquish your attachment to it for the full pleasure of it. Detached involvement comes from a wealth conscious perspective. Attachment comes from a poverty conscious perspective, where you attempt to create from symbols of yourself, but not yourself. So attachment comes from a poverty perspective, where you try to attempt to create from symbols of yourself rather than your authentic self. As the Buddhists say, the pure white light energy that you started with and that is available for you to return to. Out of this detachment comes freedom. Out of this detachment comes options and choices. The more you detach, the more doors there are down the hallway that you could go through next. If you attach to something, there's only one door calling your name, and it better be plan A. And if you can control that, you can be successful, but you will suffer. Detachment as a way to connect in the moment. Another paradoxical statement. Detachment as the door to connecting mindfully in the moment. Detachment is pausing longer than normal, noticing clearer than normal, and then choosing with more freedom than normal. Pausing longer, noticing clearer, choosing freer.
Until you detach, for example, from an opinion which you may hold dear, you cannot see the truth that might be in facts that you wish not to see, because you have invested yourself into a belief of some kind. I just listened to a really interesting talk about people in cults after they have been proved wrong that the world didn't die on December 31st. More people join. They don't take the fact and move away from it because it was not truth. They double down and get tighter in this clinging or attachment to an idea that they can't shake with a fact. We're seeing a lot of people who cannot separate fact and truth. Uh, anyway, I digress. I'm sorry.
No.
But it's
It's about expansion, isn't it? It's not about reduction.
But in your thinking, if you can detach from something that you just are dogmatic about,
Mhm.
then you have a chance to look at the truth. But you will ignore facts in order to hold your false truth.
Like confirmation bias.
I guess that's a good way. It's a good way to put it. For example, the tortoise and the hare. That they're not real. Those are not facts. That race didn't really happen. But the truth is in the telling. And if you can't separate the truth from the metaphor, and you believe the metaphor is the truth, you're now in a terrible bind. And if you can't stand back and detach, one of those is really good for that. Standing back and taking a look. What's the truth here versus what are the facts? Am I denying facts because they don't jive with my truth? Anyway,
That's talking about becoming an observer.
this is the non-judgmental part. In mindfulness, you don't judge, because if you are already judged and you've made up your mind for absolute sure, you cannot evaluate. You have to meld everything into your story, whether it's true or not. So the practicing detachment is a very healthy thing to do. You can still believe what you want to believe, but at least take a look at it. That kind of thing.
It's a broadening perspective.
Yeah.
It's a broader rather than a narrowing perspective.
It's openness.
Yes. Well, and it fits with the next thing that I'm going to say. So detached involvement is mindfully loosening our grip. We did this, remember our first retreat that we did here. And we were talking about that there are many things that we hold in our life, many things that we cling to. It's mine. It's not yours. and that when not just possessions, but ideas and thoughts and families and relationships and all those things, the more you hold, the more it will leave you. The more you grasp it, the more it will leave you. And if you have teenage children, the more you punish them, the more they want to leave you. And so that doesn't mean that there's not some parenting that goes on with teenagers, but if you hold them like this, where they're not suffocated by you, you have a better chance of that teenager becoming something that you're proud of and happy with, rather than holding on to them tightly. Detached involvement is mindfully loosening our grip and full participation in a life without control.
Let go.
Detachment does not mean lack of energy or effort. It just means that fears, emotions, their stories, and the paralyzing preoccupation that used to torment us no longer have the same power as you silence your mind. I want to read that one again because it's
Yeah.
really, really nicely put. Detachment doesn't mean lack of energy or effort. It just means that fears.
He's reading you self-liberation.
Okay.
Okay? Start again.
It just means that fears, emotions, their stories, and our paralyzing preoccupation that used to torment us no longer have the same power. You can silence your mind. I'm going to stop there.
Mhm.
The next part is going to be how do you practice this? Is there something tangible besides the ideas? Thoughts? Would you like to add something? Comments, questions?
I think the attachment to our stories is our biggest challenge in life. The stories we've told that create the ideas and the picture that we have that we don't want to let go of for fear of the unknown.
That's major.
Yeah.
It is. My family are storytellers and we're in deep trouble many times. But we're good at it. We're really good at a campfire. But you want to know something? We're not. we really don't believe in impermanence. If we're a healthy family and someone gets sick, we don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. Life changes and we don't have the same thing that we were moving towards. We don't know what to do because we live in the stories that we tell about ourselves rather than in the reality of the moment.
Well, just stepping back away from something, as you say, broadens that perspective, and then all kinds of things can happen. I know I told stories about my family, and I was sure they were true. And it wasn't until all of them were dead that I realized I had it wrong.
Or part of it wrong. Part of it wrong.
Right, no, quite a lot of it. I was absolutely wrong. You know, because I had evaluated and I had my opinions and I saw each person involved in certain lights. And then when they were gone and facts began to come out, the truth began to come out that I had not seen. You know, evidence can be startling.
But why does that happen after they pass? Like why?
Because
I
you
agree with
start,
you.
well, you
Yeah.
start getting family histories from a different perspective.
Oh.
You find out about your parents from other people
Family
besides
secrets.
your.
Yeah, family secrets.
Family secrets.
Yeah.
Emotional
And the
guard.
papers come out.
Don't you think the emotional guard is going too? Because so much.
That's right.
so many
Because
times my
the
emotions take
protection.
over my
There's
brain.
protection.
Mm-hmm.
For example, my grandmother, I was always told, died of a broken heart. My mother's brother and sister died in a playhouse fire, and she and her mother were there, and they couldn't get to the children, and they watched them burn. Her mother went to bed and died at the age of 42. She never got up again. Well, I always accepted this story. And now, with some evidence coming out, she committed suicide.